am Derrick, and I'm an African who has lived in Russia for almost 10 years.
10 years in Russia. Why did you choose Russia to study?
First of all, to make it clear, I'm not 10 years yet. I will be next year.
Okay.
So I'm 9 years, and in months I'll be 10 years. Why I chose Russia is because when I was in Zambia years ago, I had a Russian friend who sadly passed on. She told me a lot about Russia. I read a lot of books about Russia. I watched many documentaries about Russia, and I got interested in knowing more about the country. And so I went to the Russian Center, a center in Zambia where they learn Russian language and culture. I became a student there, and I fell in love with Russia, and I said, why not? Let me go study. And I got a scholarship to come here, and since then, I think it's one of the best decisions I've ever made because I love this country, and yeah, I've been here for quite some time.
What was your first impression of Russia?
Well, my first impression of Russia was, it's cold. I'm going back home. It's very cold here. I came here October, and it was, I don't know, almost winter, because winter starts in November, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was freezing. It was my first time in Moscow. And then the second thing, I was like, these people are so sad, you know, like in the street, nobody was smiling. I'm from Zambia. In Zambia, you can be in public transport and people are saying jokes all the time. You can be walking in the street and you find people laughing. So it was kind of unusual seeing people who are not so jovial, not so laughing, not laughing so much and so on. But after years, I understood that maybe this is a better approach because, I mean, I don't know, but that was my first impression. And it was a bit shocking. The weather, the people, the food too. The food wasn't so nice to me before, but yeah, after some years, I sort of got used to it. And yeah, food, weather, and the people.
What cultural shocks have you experienced as a Zambian man living in Russia?
So many, but if I'm going to point at a few right now would be, well, first of all, public display of affection. We don't do that in Lusaka. You won't find a guy and a girl kissing in the street. And so the first time I remember, I was like, wait, you guys do this here? You guys do this here? And Russians like to kiss. Trust me, like if you're walking in the street, if you're single, you would be angry to walk around Moscow because you feel like, oh, I want that. Yeah, so that's one thing. We don't do that in Zambia at all. Like public display of affection is very strange. You can hug your friend and so on, but like, you know. Second thing is like shaking hands of girls. Russians don't really shake hands of girls. You are like tap or like, you know, hug them. In Zambia, we shake hands with everybody. Like I'm shaking your hand, woman or man, like the thing. So it's something that I've sort of taken in my life right now. I don't shake hands with women. I don't know why. So even when I go home, they get surprised. For example, like a girl will like want to shake my hand,
yeah,
and I'm like, I don't do that. I'm Russian, you know. Yeah. What else? Well, like laughing around, smiling to everybody. Russians don't really do that to strangers, but like in Zambia, it's very normal. I can smile at anybody in the street, even somebody I'm seeing for the first time. What else? There's a lot. There's really a lot. But if I want to think of some that's out of the top of my head, I think those ones.
How did you adapt to the Russian educational system?
That was very hard because it's very different from the Zambian one.
Oh,
we have all these oral exams, which we don't really have in Zambia. We have to write a lot. So anyway, I did my first language year because when you come, you have to do language year, which is called Padfak, Padgadoviten Fakultet. 1 year where you learn the language and you learn some subjects. I did that at Moscow State University of Civil Engineering. It was hard because you are in class, right? And you are sitting and they're teaching you Russian in Russian. It was crazy. But yeah, it was fun. And I had to understand that the system in Russia is more than just sitting in class. You really have to do a lot of things. You need to go for conferences. You need to go for participate in what teachers, lecturers want you to do, right?
Yeah.
After that, I went to Russian State Social University, where I did my bachelor's degree. There, I cracked the system, right? So I was there for 4 years.
Yeah.
I understood that, you know what? I'm not here only just to be in class. I need to do a bit more, and that sort of helped me, because like the more you do more, the more they like you. You know, I was involved in comedy shows. I was involved in like different activities, right? Acting and so on, and all this in Russian language, and also it helped me learn the language faster. So like the more you do extracurricular activities,
Yeah.
the more they sort of like you, and it'll be easy for you to pass, right? But of course, you need to read a lot. You need to talk a lot. You need to master a lot. You need to, you know, adapt to new things a lot, because a lot of things change. And I did my master's, where you need to write a lot, also your dissertation and so on. So the thing is, just getting to be liked by the teachers is one thing.
Okay.
And then the second thing, like being very active. And you know, as foreigners, the language is already hard. So if they see that you're trying, they always like, you know, help out. So that's how I adapted, and it's not challenging. I mean, it's challenging, but it's very doable. Yeah.
And how did you manage language barriers?
Well, that was very hard, because to be honest, Russian language is not, it's not an easy language. What I did though is I went in the streets, like I got to know people in the streets, because the more you practice, right, the more you become better. Sometimes I would be lost, like just sitting in class and listening to my teachers and so on. I would be so lost. I wouldn't know how to respond. So I handled it in a way that I started pushing myself, saying hi to everybody around where I lived, and watching a lot of Russian comedy, yeah, to pick up the jokes, because Russian humor is very different. Like if you don't understand, I mean, if you speak other languages, you wouldn't really get Russian humor, Russian jokes. So I watched a lot of Russian comedy. I watched a lot of films, Russian films, especially the old ones, like the Soviet Union films. And also I listened to a lot of Russian music. That's what really helped me, like, you know, get better. I sort of understood Russian comfortably, like in my third year of living in Russia. So yeah, that's how I handled it. But it was challenging. Yeah.
Have you experienced any challenges to do with race living in Russia?
If I answered no to that question, I'll be lying, because I have. But you know, it's not like the way the world puts it. Like before, for example, before I came to Russia, I thought like, man, you be walking in the street, some guy will just beat you up. Like it's like everybody hates black people. That's the thought that I had before coming to Russia. But after coming here, I sort of experienced different challenges with my race. Yeah, with me being African and black like this. One of them is, I think one of them comes from ignorance, because I think many Russians meet African guy for the first time. I've met a lot of Russians who are like, "Oh, you're the first black guy I've met," and so many of them are curious. They don't really treat you like a person. They treat you more like a treasure. Like, "Oh my God, I have a black friend," you know. And personally, it's sort of, it's positive, but to me, it's not so positive. I want you to know me as me being a human being, not because I'm black. Not more like a treasure. Like, "Oh, I have a black friend," or I've got this. You know, I would receive a call from my friend like, "Oh, I'm with my friends. I can't believe I've got a black friend. Hey, look, hey, video call." Like, you know, God, dude. I don't really. That's not so pleasant. I understand, like, you are excited to be a friend with a black guy, but I'm just a person like you. So that's one of the challenges I've experienced. Secondly, is like finding accommodation. For some reason, sadly, I must admit that most Africans might not be as responsible as others. You know, they're very careless, and some might be involved in like drugs and all these things. So they've really left a bad name for us. Finding apartments as a black African guy is so hard. They can be an apartment, but once they know, like, "Oh, you're a black guy," I won't give it to you. You know, I won't. Hi, man. I won't give it to you. I won't give it to you. What else?
I'm gonna leave that in.
Yeah, leave it. Secondly, is sometimes you just find they are okay. The thing is, some people are racist, and racists are everywhere. Even in Africa, we have racists. I have some Zambian people who don't like white people, right? So sadly, we can't live without that. So that some people you maybe you're walking in the street, they look at you not pleasantly, but it happens very rarely because there are very strict laws against such things. And maybe like my neighbors where I live, any small mistake I make, they are- they make it seem like it's a very bad thing I did and so on. So there's that discrimination, but overall, I wouldn't complain. It's not something that I expected because I expected worse. And I live peacefully as a black African man in Moscow. Sometimes I experience such things, but sometimes I've come over the years. I've come to understand, like some people are just like that, and I have nothing to do with how they think about people. But it's very strange and very sad to have issues of racism in 2025 because we should evolve as human beings.
How has living in Russia influenced your musical prowess? Because you're a creative, you're a musician.
Yeah. Well, it has influenced in so many ways, because here I see the world from a different angle. I understand a different culture, and also being in Russia has made me understand so many things about the world. Because in Russia, in Moscow, I've met people from all over the world. I've met Asians, I've met a lot of Africans, I've met Europeans. So hearing these stories has given me something more than just being a creative from Zambia. Because when I was in Zambia, all I understood was Zambian vibes and the other African countries, right? But coming here has given me like a wider view, and also plus the language, the flow of Russian, how Russian sounds, how Russians speak their language, Russian music. I think has also somehow become part of my creative process. So in so many ways, seeing more people and the language and the music from here too.
Have you showcased your Zambian roots in your music in Russia? And how has it been perceived?
Every time. You see, I'm even in my Zambian jersey right now. Yeah, and I have a Zambian thing. Funny enough, right? Everywhere I go, I carry my Zambian flag so high. Even my artist name is Boz Zambia, Boz Zambia. So literally every Russian I've come across knows about my country every time. Of course, it comes with a lot of curiosity and questions because I don't think it's a Russian thing. I think it's a European or Western thing. Or many people assume Africa is some village, some animals running around and so on. And that's the truth that I always want to speak. I want to speak my truth. I want to say, yes, we have animals. Yes, we have villages. Yes, but Africa is more than that. Africa has got big cities. Africa has billionaires. Africa has millionaires. Africa has roads. Africa has buildings. We have food. We have water, guys. We have everything. So, I mean, that's something I really carry. All the years I've been in Russia, I'm loud about it, even in my music, in my creation. When I have a big concert, I always try and put on something Zambian, maybe my scarf, or maybe something, my cape. Also, recently, we had a big match. I actually wrote about it in my book. We had a game, Russia versus Zambia. I was so happy that day. It was in March. It was a friendly between Russia and Zambia. And it was just so nice to see Russians excited, welcoming Zambians. And, I have written this in my book. I have two homes, I feel like I'm Zambian, very Zambian. At the same time, I feel like I'm Russian because I have been in this country for some time. And there's beauty in the differences. I'm always trying to, like, when I'm home, some of my Zambians think I'm Russian because of how I carry myself. When I'm in Russia, Russians see that I'm Zambian because of how I carry myself. So I always try and push the Zambian story in everything that I do.
What is one thing you wish you knew before moving to Russia?
One thing I wish I knew before moving to Russia could be that Russian is a hard language. Number one.
Truly.
Number two could be that, no, honestly, I don't know. I don't really have regrets in life, that per se. So right now, I really have to think about. Second thing could be that it's better to experience something than have pre-assumptions. I wish I knew that. I wish I knew that, because I think many times in life people assume things without really experiencing them. Because if I didn't have any sort of judgment in my head, any sort of pre-assumptions, I could have had better experiences. Yeah, so maybe that could be one thing. The only thing actually, I wish I understood that it's better not to have pre-assumptions and just experience life as it goes, wherever you go.
How has your experience in Russia shaped your identity and worldview?
Man, I'm stronger mentally right now. I'm stronger mentally thanks to Russia and being in Russia. To be honest, Zambians and being Zambian, right? I grew up soft, if you know what I mean. Soft in the sense that being in Zambia as a Zambian man, you don't really need much. You don't really need much because Zambia is a beautiful country. The weather is nice, the food is nice, and there's this mentality of comfortability per se. Like, just go to school, study, have a car, marry, and so on. Life is sort of like straightforward. It's not easy, but it's like straightforward. But coming to Russia gave me these experiences I never would have had in Zambia. Like learning the language, meeting crazy people, drinking all these types of alcohols, and just like blending with different cultures. It made me a really strong man. So even my emotional intelligence, my mentality, and just like having this fight, I've really learned from Russians and its people. And so it has changed me in a very positive way. Like I'm very strong mentally. So I would say that's one thing that has really changed in my view.
So, how was the dating life like in Russia as an African man? Have you noticed any cultural differences, any difficulties, or any triumphs?
A lot. First of all, like I mentioned earlier about public display of affection, I have never really seen that in my country. So it was something that I had to learn. I remember sometimes when I was not dating, I've never really dated a Russian girl seriously because of reasons I'll explain a bit later, right? So when I had like something with a Russian girl, she wanted to hold hands in the street, she wanted to hug and kiss in the street. As an African man, it's something that I found so hard to do. Even now, I still struggle with it, but I'm better at it. Obsession over flowers, obsession over these gifts. I mean, in Zambia, we gift in different ways. Like flowers are not so big, and so on. So I had to learn all these things. Attention. Russian girls, I think, like more attention compared to African girls. In my own experience, I'm speaking for myself, not generalizing. And sometimes it sort of feels like too much to date a Russian girl, in my own opinion. That's why I've always like, no, I don't want, because I think their emotions are a bit more intense than African girls, in my opinion, again. So don't cancel me, please. Right? So there's that. As to my experience, like I said, I have never really been in a serious relationship with a Russian girl, though I have been involved with Russian girls here and there, because obviously, especially before, I'm in the music industry, so we get a lot of attention. Especially that time, I had like dreads, I had long hair, I'm like this cool dude rapping, all the girls wanted to be around me, and so I've spent a lot of time with Russian girls, especially when I was doing my bachelor's degree and my master. No, my bachelor's degree. My first 6 years in Russia. I hope one day maybe I am in a relationship with a Russian girl, but I don't really see that happening because, again, I really see that there are a lot of differences that sometimes I find hard to do. Like I mentioned an example of public display of affection. We can do it here with my girl, but when we go to Zambia, we can't do this. So again, it's sort of like conflict of how I carry myself. Like I don't know how I feel about kissing you everywhere, right? But if you want me to do it, I'll do it. So I notice these differences, and it's kind of like very hard for me to adjust. But generally, I think Russian girls are beautiful. One of my closest friends have been Russian girls, Russian women. They're amazing. They're very helpful, and you just feel like you have somebody to count on, which is a bit different from my other people. Sometimes they're not so involved like in your life, but again, it's my opinion. People are different. It doesn't really matter the race and which country you're from. I think every race and country has got like amazing people, but that's also the points I sort of have noticed from dating or being with Russian girls or in Russia. Yeah.
9 years in Russia. What is the most unforgettable thing that you've experienced in Russia?
So one is there are a lot, but
Okay.
I'll just mention one or two, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, it's okay. That many, okay.
The first one is definitely March this year, March 25th March 2025, I guess, or 23rd March. How can I forget that? The day we had a friendly match between Russia and Zambia. That day felt so good because I'm in a stadium and I'm watching. I love football, by the way. I'm watching football live of my boys from my country playing versus my boys from my other country playing, Russia. It was such a beautiful environment, and I'm seeing. I was sitting in the VIP zone, so it's in the middle. So when you're sitting there, you look at the Russian fans on this side and the Zambian fans on this side. So on this side is like Zambian students and they're shouting, and on this side I'm seeing Russians and they're shouting. It was just beautiful scenes. Like every day, sometimes when I pass through that stadium, VTB Arena, I'm always like, I want that night to come again, So that was a very, very special moment for me because I love both countries. Second could be the times I graduated. Of course, when I graduated from my bachelor's, I felt so happy, and when I graduated from my master's, I felt so happy too. Also, lastly, would be the day I released my music album in 2019. That day was so special, just a young African guy in Moscow with dreams, releasing an album in the center of Moscow, and Russians came through, Zambians came through. I had more than 200 people there. And that was 2019. I was still way younger than I am. So I think these moments will always be like special to me. Yeah.
Okay.
When I stay in Russia. Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
Yeah.
All right. I have one more for you. Very lighthearted, random question for you.
Okay.
Because I know a lot of Russian people ask me this question too.
Okay.
What is your favorite Russian food?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm not a fan of Russian food. I'll be honest. I even tell my Russian friends, like, you know what, guys? Okay, you guys are good at science. You guys are good at sports, right? But with the food, guys, I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. Russian food is not the best. But if there's food that I can die for, like, take me to a Russian, it's definitely borscht. Borscht has got this unique taste. Like, you can't get it from anywhere else. And pelmeni. Pelmeni are just so nice. Like, I think I can eat pelmeni and borscht for the whole week every day. Like, yes. Russian food is not the best food, but I can eat borscht and pelmeni every day for the whole week. Yeah. So that's my favorite. Those are my favorite foods.
No arguments there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for
Thank you for giving your time.
Yeah.
And I hope you guys enjoyed this. A lot more content coming, and If you guys like his story, and if you like his personality, and if you want to hear the music that he's talking about, I'm going to share all the links in the description. Feel free to subscribe to all the channels that he
Yes.
provides me with. And as always, we are roaring truths to preserve your pretty voice. Ciao.
Yeah. Can I say something?
Sure.
To all the followers and people who watch his channel, keep on watching his channel. I think he makes amazing content and is very consistent. And that's why when he invited me, I was like, oh, such an honor, because at least I see how you post different interviews, different conversations. I think those are conversations that people need to have, because especially for Russia, it's really painted black to the rest of the world, including Zambia, right? Only a few Zambians who studied in Russia like me and others really love Russia.
Yeah.
But generally, when I'm in Zambia and I'm telling random Zambian about Russia, they look at me like, dude, you're crazy, So I think it's important that people know these truths about Russia and keep on doing a good work you're doing. And thank you so much for having me.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
I'm the one who's supposed to be thankful, but thank you so much, guys. Thank you for those kind words. I'll see you guys next time.
Yes.
Ciao.